Okay, I've started the report for the session. All right. And it is exactly 12:30. So, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hello, hello. Welcome to our Stalking Awareness Program, sponsored by the PGCC Wellness Center. We look forward to the discussion today in honor of National Stalking Awareness Month, which is January. And so we want to provide information, support, and resources to the student body and community of Prince George's Community College. So with that, thank you, Val. I am going to introduce our panelists. We do have a panel today made up of experts and professionals in the field. And I will go ahead and introduce them. Or actually, I will ask that they introduce themselves. So the first person that we have here, I'll go through the list very quickly in terms of who we have on the panel, and then we'll have the first person introduce herself. The first person we listed here is Ann Eric, and she's a registered nurse in the Wellness Center. Next, we have Arnita Shelton, who is also a registered nurse in the Wellness Center. Then we have Lieutenant Barbara Smith, who is with the Prince George's Community College Campus Police Department. I am your moderator, Danielle LaShore Bryant, one of the counselors in the Wellness Center. We also have my partner, Mr. DeVal Kent, who is a counselor in the Wellness Center. And then finally, we have Mr. Mark McDonald, who is the Student Conduct Coordinator of Prince George's Community College. So we welcome all of you, and we look forward to hearing what it is that you all have to say and provide to us today. If we could get some introductions from you all in terms of who you are and a little of your background, that would be very helpful. So can we start with you, Nurse Ann, and then we'll go with Nurse Arnita.
Hello, my name is Ann Eric, and I am one of the nurses at the Wellness Center, and I'm very happy to be here today.
Okay, thank you. Nurse Arnita. Okay, Nurse Arnita might still be trying to log on, so we'll go ahead and go to Lieutenant Smith, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lieutenant Smith. I'm with the Department of Public Safety, and I've been with the college for about 10 years.
Excellent. And very briefly, I am your moderator, Danielle LaShore Bryant. Hello, hello, hello. And I'm the counselors in the Wellness Center. Let's see, into my second year. Woo-hoo. All righty. Mr. DeVal Kent, you're up.
Thank you, Dr. Danielle. My name is DeVal Kent. I am one of the counselors with counseling services at the Wellness Center, and I'm going on my third year at PGCC. And thank you. I'm just glad to be here and partnering and participating in today's topic with you all. Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. Thank you, Deval. And then, Mr. McDonald, please, sir.
Yes, thanks for inviting me today. And I've been at PGCC since September 14. However, I've been in student conduct and student affairs for almost 25 years at the community college level in West Virginia and in Maryland.
Okay, excellent. So thank you to all of our panelists. And when we get Arnita will be sure to introduce her. As you may see, my partner, Deval Kent, is navigating the chat. So if there are any questions or comments that you want to put in the chat, please do so. We'll take those as we go throughout, and we'll also leave room at the end. I'd like to now give you an idea of our program outline. We've taken care of the introduction of the panelists and have a wonderful idea of who's going to be providing information and speaking with us today. We also have a brief video that to show that outlines the definition as well as some of the legal ramifications of stalking or being charged with stalking, with the charge of stalking, rather. We've got some questions for our panelists. And then, with time permitting, we're going to have a chat on healthy and unhealthy relationships and how to recognize the signs and what you might look out for in terms of any type of controlling or behavior or domestic violence situations. Finally, we're going to conclude and have an evaluation as well. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. I'll try to bring up the video. Alrighty, so bringing up the video at this point. Here we are. Okay.
So why take the time to learn about stalking? Well, stalking is a really important thing to understand. It is criminal, it is traumatic, and it is dangerous. Stalking is criminal. It is a crime across the United States. That means it's a crime at the federal level, in all 50 states, U.S. territories, tribal lands, and in our military justice system. It might be a misdemeanor or a felony, depending on the jurisdiction and the situation. A lot of people don't realize that stalking is a crime, and so many victims are left wondering, well, what, should I call the police because somebody rang my doorbell or drove by my house? And the answer is that victims can consider reporting to authorities as well as documenting the stalking. Stalking is traumatic. Many stalking victims experience mental health impacts, including depression, anxiety, insomnia, and social dysfunction. Quite a few also lose time from work. Many lose their jobs altogether. And a significant number relocate. In fact, 1 in 7 stalking victims move as a result of their victimization. It's important to hear from stalking victims and survivors in their own words. This survivor said, "I have given up all hopes of ever having a safe life. For the rest of my life, I will be looking over my shoulder, expecting to see him there." And finally, stalking is dangerous. Stalking often co-occurs with physical violence, including physical assault, sexual violence, and rape. 1 in 5 stalkers use weapons to threaten or harm their victims. And in 76% of intimate partner femicides, that's murder of a female partner by a male partner, in 76% of completed and 85% of attempted, there was stalking the year prior to that murder or attempted murder. And yet so often these early signs of danger are ignored as, oh, it's just texting, it's just ringing the doorbell. In fact, one researcher went so far as to say that stalking is homicide in slow motion. So what's the good news? The good news is that we have an opportunity, because stalking is one of the few crimes where early intervention can prevent trauma, violence, and even death. When we recognize those early signs, take them seriously, connect victims to resources, and hold offenders accountable, we can keep our communities safe from this prevalent and terrible crime. That's why it's so critical that you learn about stalking and how to know it, name it, and stop it.
All right. Okay, so there was the video. And let's go ahead and exactly, as DeVell said, are there any questions regarding what we saw? Okay, well, as the moderator, that's where I come in. I've got some questions. So, let's start with, may we start with you, Mr. Mark McDonald?
Yes, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, you talked about being involved with student conduct and student affairs for over 20 years. And so have you then had the occasion where you've had to either help a victim of stalking or provide some resources to someone who was doing stalking?
Yes, unfortunately, I've had the opportunity to work with victims, accused students, and develop policy on several occasions. I had the unique advantage of working on a residential campus, so the forms of stalking cases came up quite frequently in the beginning of the semester. As you know, there is a large number of people who do not report stalking. Simply because they don't know what stalking is or what the resources are, or they have a perceived perception that if they do something, it's going to make it worse. And so being on a residential campus, you have the whole gamut because
Okay.
the increased amount of students who are victims.
I see. And so certainly being on campus plays into the idea of proximity. But as we know, and as one of our colleagues has pointed out, the idea of stalking is not so much what we see here in these photos, but can also be what we see in this particular photo with the young woman with the phone.
Right.
So that stalking can now take on a cyber life. Can you speak to that, and as well as Lieutenant Smith, please?
Yeah, I'll go first in continuation. You know, there's been an uptick of about 300% in student conduct cases in offices just like mine, all over college campuses around the country. And one of the main things is stalking via electronic means. A lot of students are at home, so the victims also know that they're home. They know that they're online a lot more. So we're seeing an uptick on that, and it's something their colleges, campuses are having to do a lot more training, just like we're doing now, about the safety of being online and what you put online and how to deal with your healthy relationships online.
Okay. Excellent.
We actually haven't seen any online cases at PGC. Just like any other training that you do on campus, whether it's harassment or sexual assault, any type of training typically creates awareness, and because of awareness, you typically have an uptick of those cases. So it'll be interesting to see if we're able to help some students once they are able to watch this program and identify what is harassment, because we know that on college campuses there is this is going on.
Indeed. Good point. Good point. Lieutenant Smith, do you have anything to add?
Yes, and Mark hit it on the head. Right now, we haven't really seen any numbers for PGCC, but it's really just trying to get that information out to the students and anyone else who wants to have it, just to let them know signs to be aware of. Because right now, a lot of students, they are at home. Things are occurring online. If you find yourself in a situation where someone's constantly trying to have interaction with you, and you don't want to have interaction with them, and you're blocking them, and then they're creating another page to have contact with you, that's stalking, that's harassment, and there's things that definitely can be done, and you don't have to sit there and suffer. Let someone know. Reach out. You can reach out to me at DPS. You can reach out to Mark. There's other avenues on the campus. We're all here to help.
Okay. All right. That's nice to know. And let's be clear. Let's name who we're talking about. Even though the literature tends to lean towards stalking victims are more female, that is changing.
Yes.
And I from what I've read, it seems to be changing in part because of the technology piece. In terms of the accessibility and the the ability to be anonymous as well. So if our students are faced in any way with unwanted advances or over-the-top advances, what would you suggest that he or she do, Lieutenant Smith?
The most important thing is, try to document the incident, screenshot it, save it, note the date and time, and definitely, reach out to someone to report that, the incidents.
I know that your office works very closely with ours, and in fact, you had, well, not you specifically, but your office had reached out to ours to help a student who was receiving a lot of unwanted attention from another student, and providing, the safety for her in which to do that, so that she could be able to go home safely, without being followed, and those types of things.
That's correct. Even if we were on campus right now, and you come and you let us know that you feel that someone is stalking you, and you give us the information, we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that that student feels safe, not just on campus, but also, going to and from to their home. No one should have to live in fear of worrying about someone harassing them, stalking them, or possibly doing bodily harm to them. we don't just take the incident and write a report. We don't do that. We have relationships with other departments on campus. So if it's another student that's doing the stalking, then we work with the other departments to resolve the situation and make sure that that student feels comfortable and safe, as well as there's some type of discipline for the offender. If it's occurring and it has nothing to do with another student on campus, we're right there assisting as well, because we care about our students, we care about our employees, and we care about the faculty members as well. All the way down to, we go with you to court, getting a protective order or a peace order, assisting the sheriff's department with getting the offender served, if that's the case, and making sure that, everything is confidential so that the victim does not feel embarrassed or ashamed, because when a victim is experienced stalking, they feel like it's their fault and they feel like they're embarrassed. So they don't want other people to know. And that's why, a lot of them don't speak up. So it's really just trying to get that information out there and letting them know that we are here and the campus is here to support them any way means necessary, and that we have resources available to them.
Very nice. Very nice. I'm especially taken by the piece when you said that victims tend to think that it's their fault, that it's something that they did, that it's something that they, some behavior that led to this. And oftentimes it is not.
No.
And right, they do need to know that. I know personally, my daughter had a stalking incident, and she said that it took a while for her to come forward to me because she didn't want to make a big deal out of it, and it didn't seem like a big thing, and yet her anxiety was increasing and increasing with each incident. So I thank you for putting that out there in terms of letting folks know there's support for what you're going through. What you're going through is a normal reaction, and we can stop it.
Absolutely.
DeVell, I'd like to bring you in on this discussion, particularly as we work with students. Have you had to do any types of interventions or seeking out services to help a student with this particular issue?
Fortunately, I haven't had to address this particular topic on our campus. However, in the community, in others, another college setting, yes, I have. And the one thing that is, I want to say first and foremost, is to let the individual, the reporting individual, especially if they are the victim, let them know that this is a behavior that is not your fault. You are safe from judgment in this environment. And so we want to help, build the confidence, let the student feel safe, make them feel safe, and have them understand two pieces. The first piece is, just because it may be being portrayed via social media or something physically hasn't happened yet, this is still a potential dangerous activity and behavior. And so it's encouraging, it's important to encourage students to know that you shouldn't be relaxed with notifying someone, and as Lieutenant Smith said, making a paper trail, because stalking can escalate into other harmful and life-changing or life-ending behaviors. So the first thing is just to make sure that the student is comfortable and understand that, hey, this is not your fault. Someone stalking you and harassing you isn't your fault. And so we kind of want to, coach them in making them feel more comfortable as opposed to apprehensive about, mentioning and reporting on that. The other piece that I've had direct experience with is the psychological impact and emotional impact that is a result of being a victim of stalking. You have individuals that experience post trauma. You have individuals that experience anxiety disorders. You have individuals who may now become paranoid, may now develop different types of phobias of being in certain environments, and interacting with individuals that may have certain descriptors. There is also, the situation of experiencing depression as a result of, stalking being a life-changing experience for individuals. So there's a whole psychological side that students suffer in silence with as well, that it's our job to kind of give them the coping techniques and make them feel comfortable and kind of help walk them through how to adjust with, the aftermath. Because it's one thing to be experiencing stalking and, get assistance with that and have the perpetrator held accountable. It's another thing to have experienced it and have not been able to properly heal and adjust and deal with the aftermath of that. And that's when the post-trauma and things come in. And so that's where I've actually had to assist individuals who have experienced PTSD, as, stress, de-escalation, different types of activities like that, regarding those particular symptoms. So that's the experience that I've had. And then, from a educational piece, I find it really interesting that a lot of students don't make the connection between this particular behavior of stalking and arrest and criminal punishment. A lot of people, because something may not be physical, individuals may not understand that, okay, charges can be brought up on you for stalking someone on social media, on campus, at home. And sometimes, it's important just to make that connection.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Well, and to your point, just like the connection that this particular behavior has within it, the potential for escalation, and what that might look like.
Absolutely.
That can be. Yeah.
And Danielle, we have a few questions in the chat.
Excellent.
The first is, what if a student is dealing with a stalking crisis outside of business hours? Is contacting the police the only option, or should that student make the college aware as well? If so, what number should they use after business hours?
That's a great question. Can one of our panelists, either Lieutenant Smith or Mr. McDonald, or both?
Yes, that student can contact Department of Public Safety at 301-546-0666. We operate 24/7, so we're around the clock. And they can call anytime and let us know what's going on. And definitely at that time, the on-duty officer, if it's off after hours, will provide, information on what they can do if they need immediate assistance while at home.
Okay. Wonderful.
And I just put that number in the chat.
Great.
And so the next question is, what are some of the common reasons why stalkers stalk other people?
So, Mr. McDonald, would you like to take a stab at that?
Sure, I'll take a stab at it. At the college level, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but younger students between the ages of 18 and 24, they're still developing. Mm-hmm. Even though they're adults, they're young adults, and their brain is still developing. Secondly, it's generally the first time they've had a major breakup in a relationship. It might even be their first relationship. So sometimes that is daunting. They don't know what to do. They feel they've lost a part of their life, and they don't know how to get that back. There are other factors. They just don't know how to set their boundaries. They haven't set their boundaries. And some of them, especially in certain environments, they've learned that from other people of their age or their parents, where they have seen them constantly call or constantly make contact, and they think that behavior is appropriate. So there are other ways as well, but those are the major things that I see when I'm talking to students. The accused students, they generally think it's normal behavior. They know that, and I think someone mentioned this on the panel. They know it may be a little bit disturbing. However, they don't know that it is illegal and hasn't risen to a criminal offense. The last thing is that just what I said. Sometimes they don't know that stalking is illegal and that there's punitive sanctions, and therefore they take that calculated risk because they fear that they're losing something.
Yes. Yes. And let's be clear, to your point as well as to Lieutenant Smith's point. This can be either electronic or in person. And so with it, the potential for it to be electronic, it can be very insidious.
Yes.
Texting and emails and pictures and social media pages and things of that nature that, at least in the situation of my child, made her feel like she had no control over what she did or where she went.
Mm-hmm.
And then to DeVal's point, that the mental health piece of that
Yes.
can really do a number on one's self-esteem, on one's sense of personal safety, and one's sense of self-efficacy. How effective can I be in the world?
Besides the mental aspect, I had another case that dealt with stalking not from a partnership or sexual relationship. It came from intimidation from a conduct case. We had a student who got caught with about 5 pounds of marijuana and some other drugs, and the dealer was a college student, and the dealer was stalking the student because he didn't want him to testify in the criminal case as well as the student conduct case. So there were some of the other charges brought up from the criminal aspect. And then we also had some interim sanctions that were violated, and we were able to remove the student from the environment immediately.
Okay. Very good.
Danielle,
Thank you for that example. DeVal, are there additional questions?
Yeah, another question just popped in.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Some students may need to know, what does PGCC have security guards or real police officers on campus? And I think the reason why I think this is such a great question is because some people just may not know. So this is a great time to kind of dispel the myth and just really inform, okay, what are our means of safety and security on PGCC campus?
So, Department of Public Safety, we have police officers and we are fully certified, the same as Prince George's County Police Department. So we have the same authority as Prince George's County police officers. Now, with that being said, we do have contracted security officers that do come and work for the campus from time to time as a resource to help us when we are short-staffed. And that includes for our extension centers. We have part-time PG County Sheriff deputies who also work for the college in a part-time capacity, but they cover, some of our extension centers. The contract security, you may notice them working at University Town Center. As a contracted source, a resource for DPS. But that doesn't mean that DPS is not going to be involved in an incident or should a situation is reported, because they are our eyes and ears and they report that information back to us and we are directly involved in it, rather, if it's at an extension center, because DPS is not we don't work on the campus, but they are still a part of our campus. And if it's an emergency situation, then you may have Prince George's County Police respond or the local jurisdiction, but we are in partnership with them. If we're on the Largo campus, then you have direct access to us, and we are here. We are here for you.
Excellent. Well, thank you. I learned something. Great. Okay. That's great. Okay. Any other questions, Deval?
Not at the moment. That sums them all up.
Okay. All righty.
Double check that.
Okay. Well, actually, we can segue, I suppose, into looking at the idea of what constitutes healthy and unhealthy relationships. And I think it goes without saying that a characteristic of unhealthy relationships would be controlling behavior, such as the behavior of engaging in stalking. That would fall under unhealthy relationships. And Deval, I think you had wanted to elaborate a little bit more. You and Nurse Ann wanted to elaborate a little bit more on the idea of healthy and unhealthy relationships.
I believe it was Nurse Ann. I'm actually putting the question
Nurse Ann, all right.
into the chat as we speak.
Great. All right, Nurse Ann. So you and I.
Okay.
Okay.
First off, I did want to say that Arnita Shelton, the other nurse, did contact me and apologizes that she cannot get on the actual Blackboard, but she is able to hear and see what we're doing. So she just offers that.
Okay.
Yes. I believe.
Thank you.
Oh, yes. And I think that it might be a good idea to just ask anyone that wants to respond as to what they believe would be characteristics of a healthy and an unhealthy relationship. So any of our students want to put something in the chat regarding that?
Okay, or participants, yes. All right, where's the chat? Here it is.
While we're waiting for the students to participate via the chat, the one thing that I'll say is when you're looking at unhealthy relationships, if there's anything in the relationship that makes you question your level of safety, autonomy, sense of self, if there is intimidation, any type of verbal or physical abuse, you may find yourself in an unhealthy relationship. If your relationship is constituted on what another individual can get from you, if there's a sense of being taken advantage of, if there's a sense of being denigrated and threatened or feeling coerced into doing something, I think that we're in the realm of unhealthy relationship. If you feel like there is no control or no trust, to see someone put trust in the chat as well. If there's no control or trust, I think that we are in a space of unhealthy relationships.
I hear what you're saying, and I totally agree. And I would also add that I think it's important to actually name this, because I think it was Lieutenant Smith who pointed it out. Or maybe it was Mr. McDonald, if students see the model of the constant bickering, the physical check, of a slap, or the name calling as a normal way of relating, then they may not see that, or constant infidelity, then they may not see that as an unhealthy relationship. It's just the way that things are. And so it takes education to and a different model to say, no, there's another way that can be more satisfying.
Absolutely, absolutely. We got a couple of more questions or
All
comments popped in.
Let's hear 'em.
Okay. Henry states that characteristics of a healthy relationship include mutual respect,
Mhm.
trust, honesty, good communication, and compromise.
Nice.
We have another comment from Stephanie. It says it is important to tune in with yourself. Sometimes we ignore the hairs that stand up on the back of our necks when things are going awful weird. So true. We lie to ourselves and trick ourselves into thinking that we are being dramatic or there has to be a good excuse for the person's behavior. Self-love means that we are not willing to put our feelings and intuition on the back burner.
Powerful. Yes. Yes. Very good. Very good. Anne, is there anything you'd like to add to that discussion?
Well, I think that those points are really well made, especially for the good communication and the trusting and honesty. The other things that we generally talk about with good communication is also anger control, and that certainly goes into stalking and any other physical type, emotional or mental abuses that could occur from people that are not able to have good anger control. And of course, what they refer to as fighting fair, of course, meaning that you're more willing to listen to the other person's opinion. You don't bring up old matters, once again, that has been brought up over and over again.
Oh, you don't?
No, somehow I don't know. Although we all seem to.
Okay. All right. I'll let it go from 2003. Okay.
There's another question out there, and I think this relates to being in an active relationship. Can you be stalked by your partner, spouse, or companion?
That's a good one. That's a good one. Mr. McDonald, what do you think about that?
Well, under the Student Code of Conduct, you can. I'll let Barbara speak about the legal aspects, but we set boundaries in the code with anyone. So even if you're not a member of the college community, a non-student or non-faculty member, or you're a partner, you can be in violation of the code.
Okay. All right. Lieutenant Smith, is there anything to add from a legal standpoint?
I agree with Mark. I agree with Mark, but the simplest way to say it, stalking is being pursued by somebody that you do not want to be pursued by. So that can be, someone that you just romantically broke up with, someone that you separated from your spouse for a little bit. All of these things play a factor. And just because you're married to someone, it doesn't mean that they can't stalk you because you're separated or going through a divorce or you just broke up. Stalking is a crime. And if someone is pursuing you and harassing you and making you feel uncomfortable, it is a crime and it's illegal, and there are actions that you can take.
Okay. All right. So the the circumstances are the same, whoever may be perpetrating the stalking. Okay, same principles apply. All right. Devel, any other questions from the chat?
No, that was the last one thus far.
That was the last one. Okay. All right. Very good. Very good. Nurse Ann, would you like to, is there anything else that you'd like to add about healthy or unhealthy relationships?
I think, again, healthy relationships are certainly something that we are constantly working on. And, there's a lot of times when we do need some better counseling, which of course is very available here on campus, even if you don't think it's a issue of something occurring that would bring you into a counselor to just, talk about developing a good relationship, or even questions about how to develop a relationship. I know that on some campuses, I've seen classes called something like Learning How to Date. I don't know if anybody's seen that. Where people are not familiar with this idea of dating. And what I've read from the different articles about having a class like this on campus is that, because everything's done so much with the texting and all that sort of thing, that even to actually ask somebody out to have a date, to do that is far more difficult than doing the texting. I mean, they actually ask you to look at a person and use a verbal and probably non-verbal behaviors to actually say, I'd kind of like to know, would you want to go out to the movies with me on Wednesday? Apparently, it's such an old-fashioned idea that they have classes now to try to help you. And apparently the goal of the class is to actually ask someone out on a date.
Okay. Well, not to blow any confidentiality, but a number of students that I met with might actually find a class like that helpful.
Well, Danielle, hey,
yes?
you both have the ability to teach a new class, Danielle and Deval.
I so much static. It's so hard to hear. But sorry, Ann. So hard to hear you right now. Excellent. All right. So, with the healthy and unhealthy relationships, I think the last thing I would add to that would be boundaries. Being able to know where you stop and where the other begins, being able to know where you stand with certain things, being able to draw a line in the sand and say, I will do that or I won't do that, I think is very important to negotiate in relationships, rather than having one, setting boundaries, exactly, rather than just having one person always take the lead and not being able to say, this is what I want, or this is what I need, or what you did, doesn't work for me, those types of things. So setting boundaries can be very important. When I work with some students, we start very small with setting boundaries, and then we work up to the whole idea of being able to recognize when something is pushing up against your values, and you need to create boundaries around it. So that would be the last thing I would say about boundaries. Okay, well, it looks like we have approximately, what is that, a few minutes left, in which case we will start to delve into the conclusion and evaluation of the program. As we do so, I would ask each panelist if you have any final words to say, if you would please do that. Afterwards, I will show a couple slides and ask for your feedback on those slides. So, but first, let's go to the panel and see if there are any lingering thoughts or words they would like to share.
Well, I
Yeah,
wanted to.
I would like to let all the students know, and I know that this has been mentioned, that our process is confidential. We cannot guarantee everyone's safety, but we have a process that is about 8 or 9 different things. And part of the process is to make sure you understand your rights and responsibilities. And we have advocacy and support referrals, criminal referrals. We have something that a lot of students may not know, which is called interim measures. And those interim measures are the following, no contact orders. So if a student comes in and they say that their stalking is pervasive and is ongoing, we have our own within the the college setting. We have our own no contact order that we don't have to go out to the sheriff's department or the judge and get. We have a restraining order, which is fairly similar. We have disciplinary holds on records. So sometimes it affects students. You know, if you're an academic student, you have a relationship with a good girlfriend, and you're about ready to graduate, you don't want to have a disciplinary hold on your record. We also put restrictions on campus for both of those students. So if you're in a classroom with a student, we can come up with some solutions where you're not necessarily with that student until it's resolved in terms of the student conduct case. So we have a lot of different tools to use to help mitigate the situation. But the first and foremost is to fill out an incident report. You can fill out anyone on the college campus can fill out an incident report. You can find it on the bottom of the website, PGCC website, and we'll respond normally on business hours within half an hour for these types of cases. And if it's outside of the hours, we'll refer them to campus police if we feel that it needs to be referred. So just want to make sure all the students know the resources we have in our office. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. And thank you for mentioning the incident report form as well. That's located on the website, that's available to anyone, any student to fill out. Thank you. Lieutenant Smith or Nurse Ann or DeVal?
I'd like to just mention, this is Lieutenant Smith, that while we are also here for, incidents that occur on campus, we are also here to show, the student support for incidents that occur off campus. And it may not even be with someone affiliated with the campus. So if you find yourself in a situation where you need that support, please contact DPS and we'll get you, the resources that you need and be there for you.
Excellent. That is so nice to know that the protective arms of PGCC can extend beyond the campus.
Yeah, I think this is a timely topic, especially because of the texting and the fact that people are more online right now.
Yes, Nurse Ann, that's a very good point. Particularly as it says here, 1 in 4 stalking victims are at the end. Oh, no, I'm sorry. 83% of stalking victims are stalked by email and 35% by instant messages. So yeah, that technology is being used in a way that is not healthy. Okay. DeVal, would you like to say any last words?
Absolutely. The first thing that I wanted to say is, don't be afraid and apprehensive about asking questions. You know, by you inquiring about different aspects of stalking, are you a victim of stalking? Is this behavior normal or not? You know, by asking those questions, you become more informed about yourself and more informed about your safety. And just know that there are resources here, from student conduct to DPS to counseling services, the wellness center. Just, if you are experiencing something, please step up and say something, because we're here to serve you. If one of your friends or classmates is apprehensive about, doing something, inquire information for them and try to do your best to encourage them to step up, because we can't assist you if we don't know what's going on.
Yes, good point. Good point. And the last piece to that is, as Lieutenant Smith stated, document. That can be very helpful. Screenshots, photos, whatever it is that you can capture, the behavior is very helpful. All right. So, I'm looking at the list of attendees, and I did have an evaluation, but it would be the evaluation of the panelists, so I don't think that counts. So, because you all did superb, absolutely superb. So, that would have been one of the questions. Certainly, if you feel like you want to answer it, question A, put the answer in the chat. We would definitely love to have the feedback. Let's see. Otherwise, this is where we would conclude our program for the day. Thank you so much, Henry. Appreciate it. And oh, wait a minute. That was question A. And the next program we have is in February, where I think we're looking at, I believe it's dating violence and heart health, which is quite important. So thank you all for your time. Thank you for your knowledge and sharing it with our students and with the college community. And we look forward to collaborating with your offices and departments in the future to provide these services to our students. So thank you, Lieutenant Smith. Thank you, Mr. Mark McDonald. Thank you, Nurse Ann. Thank you, Nurse Arnita. And thank you so much, thank you as well, Stephanie, for the questions. Thank you, Chantel, for listening. And thank you so much, Henry, for attending. Take care and have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.